Hello and welcome to my new free training, Charge with Confidence and Convert Your Expertise to Cash. This is Marianne Amon of Create Your Magnificent Life Now, and I'm so excited to support you and your great work with this complimentary training. I struggled for years feeling insecure and even downright terrified to quote a price for my services. It held me back and almost took me out. That's right, I almost gave up my dream work, the very work I was put on this earth to do, just because it was so hard for me to charge for my services. I'll tell you more about that later, but let me just say welcome. And I want to warn you, this is a fairly deep and comprehensive study, not some quick tips that you're going to forget about in 30 seconds. I'm going to be very transparent in this training, and like the old saying goes, if I can do it, you can too. I want you to imagine for a minute. You've just given a great presentation. Maybe it was a webinar, a workshop, a speech at a local event, and someone is curious about working with you. You chat, then you make an appointment to find out more about each other. It's all very friendly, and she's become even more interested in you and what you do. You know that soon, though, she's going to ask you the question, how much do you charge? You could feel it coming. You've been asked this before. How do you feel? Or maybe you're ready to design your signature program or package. You know you are great at what you do, but now you have to put a price tag on that package. How do you feel? Or maybe you had no problem putting that price tag on it. You even have pretty graphics on your webpage showing its value and all the benefits. However, you wonder, will anybody really pay this or that? If even thinking about charging for your services and expertise makes you feel uncomfortable, anxious, hesitant, a little smarmy, maybe there's a dryness in your mouth or a knot in your stomach. You feel scared, hopeless, futile, even discouraged. Well, you're in the right place. Wouldn't it feel awesome to not feel you have to apologize for the price, shrink back in fear that people will think you are being greedy or money grubbing? Wouldn't it be amazing if you were so excited to share your pricing with your ideal client because you know what a great value they're going to get, how it will change their life, and that they will be so grateful for this fabulous opportunity to finally expand and achieve the goals that they have longed for? Well, you can achieve that kind of exhilaration, ease, and joy as you present your pricing. And I'm here to help you do just that. So, what will you learn in this course? Well, step one, part one, is going to be my 8-step model for converting your expertise to cash. There are a lot of steps to converting your expertise to cash, and sometimes it can get overwhelming. Sometimes you don't know the forest from the trees and where you are in the process or what you have to do next. So I created this 8-step model to give you an overview. Now we're not going to be able to cover all the steps in depth in this training. That's going to come at a later time. But for now, I just wanted to give you an overview and see where this training fits in with that. Okay? Part two, I'm going to give you my 5 best practices that build confidence quickly. And maybe the first one will surprise you. Part 3, we're going to concentrate on strengthening your belief system and helping you to identify some of the beliefs that are holding you back. So we want to strengthen that belief system so it works for you, not against you. In part 4, we're going to get rid of any money blocks so abundance can come freely to your door. But first, I thought it might be helpful to you to understand where I'm coming from and why I'm so passionate about this topic. Well, without going into a lot of details about my story, let me just say I was a very active kid that had an adventurous spirit and I loved doing stuff. But I was often thwarted, rejected, or excluded for a number of reasons. First and foremost, I was half Korean growing up during the Korean War era, and we lived in an all-white culture. because my dad's family was Italian and Polish. This brought a lot of singing, dancing, amazing food in our house, but outside our home, it brought ridicule and bullying. Additionally, my parents had intense marital problems and eventually split up, which was not common in the 60s. I also had been abused growing up in a number of ways. All of these things made me conclude that I was defective. Now, you may not have had these circumstances in your life, but most of us have some reason for why we fear rejection and failure. And this can later affect what you think you deserve in life. Well, thank God I was introduced to the power of positive thinking and had great faith even as a teen, and it kept me hopeful and moving forward. I desired, no, actually, I was compelled to succeed and not be sucked down into a vortex of dysfunction. In college, I determined that I would never be happy with just one career, that there was too much life to live, and that I would adopt a 5-year plan, which meant every 5 years I was going to switch careers. And it pretty much worked out that way. My first career was an elementary teacher. I taught first and fourth grade. And then I went to law school. I wanted to do something else. And after law school, I was privileged to be awarded one of the few positions of the state as a prosecuting attorney. In fact, I was the second woman to ever have been hired by the state, the criminal justice system. As a side note, I was told then, because I was a woman, that I would have to work twice as hard, twice as long, and twice as much as any guy did. And there's the door, honey, if you don't like it. Well, I was so happy to just be on the playing field that I gave it my all, like 24/7. Well, I soon discovered after a while that being a prosecutor wasn't me. It was a hard decision to make though, because how do you give up such a great job with all that power and prestige? And I became depressed. Well, like I said, when I was growing up, I had this really strong faith, but when I got to college, I threw it all off. I decided that was all stupid and it was just a joke, just to keep us in mind control, and so I became an atheist. But unbeknownst to me, that was no longer serving me. So it set me up to be open to God. And so I had this massive spiritual encounter that changed everything. So my faith affected every aspect of my life and business ever since then, actually. And it gave me the courage to go for my true love. You know, faith gives you courage. And that's why I'm such a big proponent of faith. But it gave me the courage to go for my true love, which really was finances, investments, and get this, taxes. I loved taxes. Don't ask me why, but I did. So I got a job with a company called Cigna, helping people achieve their financial goals through my work. Excuse me. And they advanced me eventually to a managerial position, flew me out to Newport Beach, California from Hartford, Connecticut, and set up a whole new career for me. And what I did there was I designed financial plans and I trained the financial planners. But some unethical and even illegal things were happening behind the scenes. And I ended up being a whistleblower. And to Cigna's credit, they came right in and they really made some massive changes in the organization. So that kind of thing would never happen again. But it was a terrible time back then. But I did end up getting a promotion. And so I became second in command at the Newport Beach office. But eventually I quit and I decided I wanted to go out on my own. So I had a small number of high-level clients, and I helped them with their cash flow management, their businesses, and fulfilling their financial dreams. Well, soon after doing that, I got a revelation that I really wanted to be a mom. And lo and behold, a little baby was waiting for us, and we adopted that baby. And my heart just expanded to the point of bursting out of my chest with that little baby. And I eventually became a stay-home mom. And then we adopted another baby. And I had two older stepkids that lived on and off with us as well. So I love this role. It was the best job I ever had being a stay-home mom. I homeschooled my kids. I became a chapter leader. I started some organizations, and I loved it. I was also very involved in the church. And on the side, people started to recognize, way before I did, that I had a gift in counseling and coaching. So pastors in the area started sending people their way to me. Well, before I knew it, my phone was ringing off the hook. I loved being of service, but I did have a few burnouts because I didn't know how to set up boundaries at the time. Well, obviously, since then, I've learned that because I couldn't stay in this business if I didn't know how to do that. And um, it became a great ministry to me. Well, as the kids got older, this question kept surfacing, and maybe you've had it too. What's next? All right, after being a stay home mom for about 20 years, I was kind of out of practice and I didn't want to go back to law. I didn't want to go back to financial advising. And I certainly did not want to be in ministry anymore. I wanted to be back in my true love, which was business. But doing what? I had no products to sell. And despite my extensive experience in education, I didn't think I had anything to offer anyone. You see how our mindset can really trick us? Well, the other problem I had was the advice I had heard over and over. You can't make money selling soft services. And number two, you need to focus on just one thing. Well, maybe you've heard those words too. Maybe they've held you back. But let me tell you, there's answers for each of them, and they're good. Well, if I was going to do anything, it would be a coach, even though I was very skeptical that I could make money doing that. And as far as choosing one thing, how would I ever take all that I had done and only choose one thing? It seemed impossible. Well, I put those obstacles to the side because really I couldn't figure it out. And so I accidentally became a speaker. Now, I really didn't mean to be a speaker. I just had a powerful transformative encounter with God about 19 or 2000, I'd say 8, 6, 7, 8, 9 in that range. So I wrote this book and I was compelled to share it. It was called Have I Ever Told You You're My Favorite? The Importance of Feeling Special. And I wrote this because for most of my life, like I said, I felt defective and lacking. And getting a deep, rich understanding about the favor of God turned my whole belief about me around. It made me feel special. The confidence, freedom, and joy I experienced was amazing, and I desperately wanted that for others. So before I knew it, groups were asking me to come and speak, church groups, women's groups, and marketing events. Anyway, I had a ball. I found out that I loved being on stage. Who knew? So as long as I made the talk about my audience and not me, and I stayed true to who I was and didn't try to be anyone else, it all worked out great. You know, authenticity has become my greatest asset, as it turns out, in growing a profitable and passion-based business. That's right. Let me say that one more time. Authenticity has become my greatest asset in growing a profitable and passion-based business. Well, at the end of my first year, I decided that as much fun as I was having, I was going to have to make some money, some more money, or get a job. In fact, I had an offer in a law firm, and I seriously thought about taking it. Now, people kept telling me I was a natural coach, and indeed, I had been doing it informally since I was about 7. And I even did it in the financial planning industry. But no one ever paid me in dollars or services for that. Besides, many of the people that I worked with seemed to only want to vent, not change. Not satisfied. I later learned that when a person doesn't invest, they rarely change and move forward. They mostly just want someone to validate how they think and what they do, and they're rarely coachable. That's no fun. And because they didn't invest, I ended up feeling like a failure. So why would I want to do that? Well, one day I had a divine download from God Himself with a direct mandate to get myself out there and be the best coach I could be and bite the bullet and start charging. I was not to be available for free coaching anymore. Well, as fate would have it, I received a call within the week from a lovely woman who had been referred to me for coaching. Ha! A chance to practice my new decision. We chatted about her situation and I knew I could help her. Then she asked the dreaded question, "What do you charge?" Well, I knew it was coming, but I kept putting off the opportunity for her to ask it. Have you ever done that? You can't enroll anyone in your programs or begin the work together without addressing it. But you just like to put off that awkward moment as long as possible. At least I did. For me, though, it was way more than awkward. Oh my, immediately my skin got clammy, my throat seized up, beads of sweat popped out of nowhere. Panic filled my mind as I realized that I never went as far as even thinking what my prices would be. Well, I eked out $50 an hour, and to me, that was a huge stretch. Waiting for my prospective client's response seemed like eternity, and she said nothing. So my mind started racing. Should I lower the price? $40? $30? This torturous war within my soul made me want to scream. All right, I give. I'll do it for free. I don't know what I was thinking. But tapping into divine strength at the moment of this pain, I kept silent and I just let the chips fall where they may. Her voice brought a stunning, "Is that all?" I immediately jumped from fear to shame. Your heart beat out of your chest over that, Marianne? No wonder I only made $2,500 my first year in business. Well, as time went on, I became more and more confident, making the major decision to kick fear to the curb. I got over my false beliefs about charging for my services, am doing what I'm called to do, exactly what I love, helping people create magnificent lives and businesses. And rather than go broke, which would not serve anyone, I make more than I did as a lawyer with 10K, 20K, and even 50K months. Wouldn't you love to do that too? You can. Believe me, you can. Just remember, each dollar you earn is compensation for changing lives. Well, in addition to making a six-figure income, something I really never thought I could do, I get to have intimate, heart and mind expanding retreats in luxurious locations, which I could never do if I did not get over my discomfort about charging. And last year, I was so excited to take my husband to Paris for our 30th wedding anniversary. How cool is that? Again, I never could have done that if my mind and heart did not shift about charging. Well, I hope my story has encouraged you, and maybe you saw parts of yourself in that. But let's move on now to part one, my 8-step model for converting your expertise to cash.